It is lights out and away we go because it is Tuesday and this is Frontstretch, and we're back after a crazy Formula One race in Azerbaijan. The streets of Baku did not disappoint this year with a crazy weekend start to finish. Max Verstappen wins again in dominating fashion, but behind him was just chaos. And that was true chaos. We didn't even have, well, we had a little bit of rain in qualifying, but during the race, we didn't need any of that. Tom Blackburn with me this week. We'll also cover Dennis Hauger getting signed by Dale Coyne Racing and Andretti Global, partnering up with those guys later on the show. But the highlight for sure is Max Verstappen, and other coincidences, making a huge jump to potentially get back into this championship battle. Obviously, the troubles with Oscar Piastri and McLaren themselves will highlight here after we talk and give Max his flowers, because it was just a perfect weekend from those guys here at Baku. Maybe Sergio Perez kept his notes out there for those guys. You watched the race closely, Blackburn. Just is Max truly back in this title contention, you think?
I think he is doing everything within his control to be able to make something of this. Now, whether or not the luck works out his way because of the 69-point gap, man, but Max is definitely three races in a row, second, first. This sort of reminds me the opposite of what happened last year. After the summer break, it was McLaren that started coming on strong. Now it's the reverse. He is starting to come on strong. And so does this end up being a run to the last race and possibly a really close title fight? I don't know. We keep saying that. Lando Norris, is he going to catch up to Oscar? You know, what is this going to be a close title fight? It's not really happened yet, but you know, maybe Max is doing what he can, I think, to do it. And that was a hell of a run. He got pole, fastest lap, and he led the majority of the laps, right? So I mean,
he led most of them without a stop, of course.
So he basically swept everything he needed to do. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it could have had a surprise pole winner in Carlos Sainz before he just laid down a monster lap. That's after Lando Norris. He got in the wall in qualifying. Oscar Piastri just drove in the wall twice this weekend.
What a weekend!
He pulled a Fernando Alonso move watching the race from where he crashed right there. Got to see the Franco Colapinto. I think it was Esteban Ocon that got into him as well. That whole scuffle, but way back in the grid. But yeah, I mean, but for Max Verstappen to have he's setting a trend, having another dominant weekend, way outpacing McLaren's. McLaren's had the worst weekend of the season since the very start with Australia, when they both got into trouble, but Lando still ended up winning somehow. This was abysmal for those guys, and Max was there to capitalize on that. I mean, no way they're going to get into any constructor battle with the Red Bull. Their fight is for second with Mercedes and Ferrari at the moment for that. And you had Yuki Tsunoda finally have a weekend where he's not like edging into the points. He finished sixth. So all in all, Red Bull had a great weekend. My question is, though, to you, Tom, is one, next time I think they go is Singapore. And Red Bull has had issues there the last couple of years. But with the fact that McLaren had such a bad weekend here in the streets of Baku, are you now concerned that McLaren has a similar weekend going to Singapore?
I'm not concerned at all, because Oscar's really worst race of the year before this was Australia, and he went to China and he won, finished third at Japan, and then he nailed 3 wins in a row. Lando has come off 2 18th place place finishes, and he either won or he finished second. So I'm not really worried about that. What I am a little, I honestly, I don't want to be too critical of Lando because they just maybe didn't have the car for this weekend, because Oscar, he started all the way in the back. Like you said, he had troubles on qualifying. But are you a little disappointed though, or are you surprised that Lando wasn't able to maximize the opportunity in front of him? If you take the 2 18th place finishes, which I know one was an accident, was the one in the Netherlands, did he crash there too?
No, that was a mechanical failure at the end.
Mechanical failure
while running second.
The one in Canada, he ran into the back of somebody, right? Yeah,
of his own teammate. Yes,
that's right. It was Oscar. You take those two out, which ended up basically being DNFs. This was his worst finish of the year. Like, this was his worst finish, where he was running at the finish of the race, and he wasn't that competitive. Like, he got stuck behind at the beginning of the race. I can't remember. And I think
one of the Ferraris, I think.
Yes, it was Ferraris, and he couldn't get around him for a while. And you thought, okay, he'll get around him, and he kind of will do this Max Verstappen thing where he'll start picking guys off, but it didn't happen. So what did you think about Lando really just kind of laying an egg and not maximizing his points opportunity?
Well, it starts, like I said, in qualifying. He had a chance first on after the millionth red flag of that session, by the way.
Oh gosh, that was like a NASCAR race. That was crazy.
That was, but there was a clip where Red Bull's or Verstappen's engineer just decides red flag, just go under the bridge, wait.
Those guys are usually so like chill and everything, and for him to actually like show that expression, professional. That's hilarious.
But I mean, Lando was almost a red flag of his own, and he started way back in the top 10.
Yeah.
Luckily, Piastri had just the dry effect of bad start, ran into the wall in the race, ran the wall during Q3, and that's just a weekend to forget. I mean, I also saw I don't know if because AI has all this stuff nowadays, but there's some selfie out there with Piastri just looking so like done with the weekend with one of the fans. It was just, oh my goodness. But Lando himself, he had a shot to get a good qualifying in Q3. Didn't get that. Mm-hmm. He didn't nail the start. He actually lost the position on the start, and he fell back. Oh, and it was the pit stop for him. Hey, this time it's no papaya rule saving you this time for a bad pit stop. That's what real racing is, Lando. So when you get behind two other guys and have to repass them, that's when, and he almost caught Yuki Tsunoda for 6th. But at the end of the day, the pit stops he probably should have finished 5th or 4th in this race, challenging for maybe Kimi Antonelli's position. Definitely passing Liam Lawson, which, again, he had his best career finish of 5th in this race as well. And that should be applauded and highlighted a little bit there. He had and started 3rd, had a great weekend for those guys. But Lando, it's going to take some kind of talk from Zach Brown, I think, for going into Singapore. There's got to be an itch of concern after you're going into the same track style, going to a humid environment in Singapore that has caused issues before. Remember, I think Lando almost threw away the race in Singapore last year by going deep, and it's very technical. You have to have no mistakes, and having a lot of mistakes at a track like Baku doesn't set up well for a race like Singapore in the next round. So I'll be watching McLaren closely next week, because any more mistakes, I think right now they have enough of a buffer between Verstappen and between the McLarens to handle the driver standings. But one more mistake, it's game on. And
you're right. And I was your question originally. I think we would have had a better answer about your concern level for McLaren if Oscar had actually stayed in the race, because if he hadn't ran into the wall, how many positions do you think he could have overtaken and made up on the field? If it was significant, maybe we would feel warm and fuzzy. But what if he only made it up to like 16th or 14th or 13th? Not even to the points. That's where I think that, we would have jumped in, and on the American side, we would have been like, let's wave the red flag, like qualifying. I mean, that is a concern, to answer your original question. So they missed that. Since we didn't get to see it, we're kind of left with, Lando just had a few mistakes and he'll be fine at Singapore, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
I hope they at least get a chance to compete. And I want to see, I mean, Max is on a tear right now. The only things, and the thing that's going to stop them is, ironically, this track has not been a good track for Red Bull in the past couple of years here at Singapore. So it's going to be interesting to see if he gets any ground made up on McLaren, if either one of those two teams can come back from the jaws of defeat or at Singapore specifically to rebound their championship hopes. Carlos Sainz was the other big story of this race. He started second, looked like he could have been the poleman. If Lando Norris hits the wall there, I think Sainz got the pole, but qualified second, finished third. Carlos Sainz has a podium before Lewis Hamilton. At Ferrari. Now, Lewis Hamilton does have the sprint win, but at this point, that argument has been watered down. It's gone. Carlos Sainz, the smooth operator, is back, and we're going to Singapore next week, a track that he won with Ferrari.
Yeah,
at one point during the dominant Red Bull Max Verstappen year in 2022, I believe, or 23 rather.
In 23, yeah.
One big accomplishment here for Sainz coming from Ferrari, but even more damning is it time to pull the plug on Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari now?
No, there's no plug being pulled. That's a 70 million time champion. I think they'll get it. I think it's just a good news story. As a man who literally watched Formula One in the early 90s, watched the Formula One race that Ayrton Senna was killed on, I think it is amazing to see Williams finish third. It just takes me back to all those cars they had back in the late 90s when they had Juan Montoya driving for them and they were winning races. So I think it's a good news story. I think it was fantastic. He stayed up there. The team didn't mess up at all, and they were able to get that finish. I think it's just a luck of the draw that he ended up doing better than Lewis Hamilton has so far this year. And it kind of goes back to a few races previously where Lewis had questioned his driving. He had gone on to the radio and said it was an interview, wasn't it? And he said maybe they need to look at a different driver or something like that. I wonder how much mentally he's dealing with right now. Like, if the dude's a champion, why is he doubting himself? Is Lewis doubting himself? Is he feels the pressure? I mean, what do you think?
The radio transfer. They made a failed position swap between the two teammates at the end of that race, that's something. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day for drivers' points. It's for what, 5th and 6th or whatever. I think Charles Leclerc is way ahead in drivers' points over Lewis, but it comes to demoralization. Lewis Hamilton is used to being in championship winning equipment, even at least race winning equipment in the last couple of years with McLaren. And he got it done got it done at Spa after a penalty to Russell, but he got it done at multiple different tracks leading up to his final season. The British Grand Prix. That was a big moment for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was huge.
That was a curtain call for Lewis at McLaren. It felt like. now, I mean, your biggest moment is a sprint win in China that happened week 2 of the year, rather. You haven't done anything since then. Not even in Italy, which that one for sure was a big mar for Ferrari not getting on the podium with either of those guys. This weekend just continues this. I don't even know how they're in contention for second in the Constructors' Championship. That is miraculous to me that they're even in that conversation.
Yeah,
It feels like they should be fourth in the championship and way down. Williams, on the other hand, sitting fifth in the Constructors' Championship, way ahead of Racing Bulls, who had a stellar weekend of their own, is a big. It feels like a massive win for those guys coming where they're going into 2026, where they're promising, hey, we're putting all of our chips there. Well, their cars is doing great on these. They've always done better on the longer straights, like a Spa and like Baku, the longest straight in the tour. So when you have such a great weekend, this is their first, I want to say, their real podium. Their last podium was with George Russell in that rain shortened race at Spa in 2021. Their last real podium since this race at this track at 2017, when Lance Stroll got an unexpected podium here. This is a massive accomplishment for those guys. And on the flip side, you have Lewis Hamilton, a multi-time champion, a go to the sport, not sounding at all like himself and out of his element with this team. This partnership, to me, and I'm ready to say it now, I thought it was an interesting move at the time that it was announced, but I was questioning, how is this going to work with Ferrari coming off a great season with Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, with great chemistry there. And I don't think it has really worked. There's too much of a power battle between these two drivers. Charles Leclerc is undisputed number one driver at Ferrari in terms of performance, but you have a guy in Lewis Hamilton that I don't want to say the word demands, but commands more respect and more attention. And I think their attention of trying to get Lewis Hamilton accustomed to the car has dragged Ferrari to a point where they're not winning races like they should have, like Monaco, like Italy. Some might even say this race was a race they had circled on their calendar. Coda and Singapore are the next ones on their count. I mean, those are the next two on the calendar that I would have circled for those guys. They don't show that get up attitude and the speed in general in the car. Yeah. I don't see Ferrari going anywhere in the next couple of races.
Well, if you do look, the only thing I would counter is if you look at the last 5 seasons, they have had a really good season, and then they followed it up with a mediocre, as you kids say these days, mid type of season. Very mid. So last year they finished second in the Constructors' title, and they came away with 4 wins. It looks like 5 wins. All right. 3 with Leclerc, 2 with Sainz. The previous year in 23, they only had 1 win, and they finished 3rd in the Constructors' title. Go back to 22, they finished 2nd in the Constructors' title. And then go back 2 years before that, they finished 6th. So they have had a pretty consistent back and forth type of flow to how they're either developing their car for the next year, falling back behind development, and then catching back up. Now, there could be like personnel changes or something like that I'm not, really tied into to see. But at least the history shows that, this isn't out of the ordinary that they're fallen back to 3rd. They haven't won. Now, that is the big factor right now, because if they don't win this year, that will be the first time since 2021 when they didn't win any races. So, but they didn't win any races in 2020 either. So that was only just a few years ago. So maybe this is they're a throwaway year and they come back into 2026 and they have a car that is competing back for, how these things are cyclical. Maybe they have the car that's better.
Yeah, I wonder if 26 and the new car will help these guys. We haven't really heard anything about much at all. I mean, obviously Cadillac coming in with their GM engines and the restructure of some of the other engine manufacturers going on.
Yeah.
Ferrari's still going to have their customer in Haas to deal with. And
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So do you think about this Lewis thing? Now, I don't remember when he made his announcement, but do you think that they just haven't had time to put the car that he needs around him yet? Because this is his first year. Does it take a year for these guys to get a car for a specific driver, or should they have had something like that developed after he announced or knew he was coming? Would that have been enough time? I don't know, but I asked you to see if you know. Well,
the announcement, came a year early. They've had a long runway to prepare for Lewis.
Okay.
That's a great question. I just don't think they got it right at the end of the day.
That's a fair point. That's probably a fair observation on your part.
It's just, think about it. Ferrari has had issues in multiple areas, mainly in the form of strategy. That's why we always call it Ferrari strategy. This is a long developed move that you'd think would be the easiest, smoothest transition. But you remember Lewis Hamilton hasn't made a transition like this from a big team to a big team since what? When he went to McLaren, or from McLaren to Mercedes in 2011, 2012. What was that?
Oh, you close. Would you say 2012?
I said 2012. Yeah.
Yeah, that you got it. Boom. 2012 is last year. 13 was when he went.
From 2011 and between 2011 and 2012. So I was right there. So yeah, he hasn't made this kind of transition in over a decade. And now he's way out of his prime. As much as we want to give Lewis Hamilton the credit of being a great Formula One driver, you're going up against Max Verstappen. You now have Charles Leclerc to compete with at Mercedes. George Russell was always under his own development, and now he's the top dog with another fellow rookie that's showing his development time in Kimi Antonelli. But at least he has the moniker of a rookie. Lewis Hamilton, the only other person to compare him with in terms of experience out there is Fernando Alonso at Aston Martin, and they're having issues of their own that doesn't really relate to what Lewis is dealing with at Ferrari, fighting with Charles Leclerc week in and week out. So that's where I stand. There's a lot more that came out of Baku. If you want, I'll throw this quick point to you. I'll re-highlight Liam Lawson in fifth. Do you think that is this a continuing showcase of how that second Red Bull is just a death seat? Because I feel for poor Isaac Hadjar, who got the podium at the Netherlands a couple weeks ago, who's rumored to go in that second seat next year. Because Yuki still, despite his best finish of the year, still didn't outperform an RB in Liam Lawson, who those guys had a phenomenal weekend themselves from third to fifth this weekend.
Yeah, Liam has actually 5 top 10s in that second. So they call it the second Red Bull car. I know they
no. This is the RB, the junior team, actually.
Junior team. So that's what they call that. The not car. I meant team. The second
team, the junior team. Yeah,
junior team. And yeah, Sonoda has only gotten. Well, I guess he's got 5 top 10s as well. But Lawson is higher in the points. So fantastic. That's just a great decision. They're going to have to sit down and figure out what they're going to do, because they need a second car to be competitive so they can get back into the world championship. The world constructors title, because they're not going to win it with Max doing it all himself.
Unless Ferrari and Mercedes wreck out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And well, he did it. He didn't do it last year. I'm sorry. It was McLaren that won last year. So they got to, I don't know. How does McLaren get two cars to be super, super competitive? How did, Mercedes get two cars to be super, super competitive? When Sands was at Ferrari, those two guys were winning races.
Mm-hmm.
And the second dude at Red Bull can't do anything. Now, some of that could be his teammate is winning all the races, but back when he was doing good. But Perez was really good. Now you're wondering, man.
Yeah.
Perez, man.
I've already apologized publicly to Sergio Perez for doubting what he did. He at least had race wins. Baku was his track.
Yeah.
And he had other Saudi Arabia he did well at as well. He got the job done at certain tracks with Max Verstappen either having issues, not having the pace, rarely, and whatnot, or just falling into other issues entirely throughout the weekend. It's just the second Red Bull seat is just a hex at this point for any driver. Despite in the Max Verstappen era, this is just a hex at this point.
Yeah,
sixth place is applauded. That should not be the standard for a team that has recently won a constructor's title. With Max Verstappen doing it by himself at most points. I feel worse for Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah, well,
I feel terrible for him.
What happened to that car at the end of, or what was it, after really the first of the season last year? Because that team just started falling apart. And I mean, sorry, not team. That's specifically that car. That car started underperforming.
Well, yeah, Christian Horner too, though. But that's another conversation. He did get I did see $100 million settlement between him and Red Bull while we're on.
Bro, like what
money?
Where do I have to work to get a settlement that's going to pay me $100 million not to be there anymore? Like
that, I thought Daniel Ricciardo's settlement a couple years ago was big. This is holy shnikes.
Yes, holy shnikes is Tommy.
But he'll be available on the job market for 2026. That's kind of a small point to touch on. That I'm interested to see who in the right mind is going to pick up Christian Horner. He's got championship caliber.
Any rumors where he's going to go?
Don't know. Not quite yet. It's going to be interesting to see though. Definitely not any of the Red Bull teams. So he's got 9 other teams to go to, or not 9 out there. I don't know. Mercedes and McLaren are kind of locked up right now. So we'll see where he goes in 2026. I want to move on to IndyCar. We spent most of the time talking about that insane Baku race. But honestly, there's actually 2 points that happened last week in IndyCar. And one of them being today, breaking news that Dennis Hauger, Indy Next champion, F3, F4 champion, the Norwegian Nightmare, will join forces with Dale Coyne Racing for 2026. This was long rumored, but what wasn't rumored, this is bigger. Andretti Global has entered a technical partnership with Dale Coyne Racing. Blackburn, we've speculated for a while that Hauger was probably going to go to Dale Coyne, fellow Honda team already. He even confirmed he didn't have a seat at Andretti at Nashville when I talked to him. The fact that he not only gets a seat in IndyCar with Dale Coyne Racing, who, by the way, housed a equally talented Alex Palou at one point and almost won races with him there. But not only that, to have Andretti Global formally partner with this team that has its history of just trying to get to the track with drivers. How big is it for Dale Coyne Racing to have such a big partnership like this?
I think that there's 2 things about this partnership that kind of have some sort of makes you go, oh, okay. One is the Dennis Hauger connection. So Dale Coyne has always had a history of bringing young drivers in, and that Alex Palou was an example that you just used. Andretti is actually going to be able to leverage the relationship here that they couldn't do with Kyle Kirkwood when he came in because he went to AJ Foyt. Now, Kirkwood had grown up in the Andretti stable coming up through the road to Indy, but he signed with Foyt, which I think there was a deal there, but there was no technical information that could be shared because of Chevy and Honda. Well, they've learned from this. This is going to benefit Dale Coyne because there are the biggest aspect of this is, does this improve their Indianapolis 500 qualifying package? Because they have been suffering. These technical alliances have been beneficial for every team that has leveraged them. Meyer-Shank was the first one to leverage such a relationship, and he ended up winning the Indianapolis 500 with Elio Castroneves one year, because I don't remember who he had the relationship. Maybe it was Andretti or maybe it was somebody else. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it may have been an Andretti relationship to their benefit. The other is, this shows the resources that is coming into Dale Coyne now. He's serious. Next year is going to be about competition. And Coyne has done this in the past. When he has had resources, he has competed. The more memorable is the Sebastian Bourdais was actually leading the points with a Dale Coyne entry when he got to the Indianapolis 500. And that was the race where when he qualified, he crashed and he got severely injured. I think he broke his pelvis really bad. He was leading the points. So they were serious about competing that year. That shows the resources they're getting here. And it's for a good driver. Dennis is going to do something. I mean, he came in from Europe and he had 6 wins, and he did well on ovals for the first time. So this is looking up. But I throw a question to you, sir, and then you can answer about all this first, but I want you to know something. I want you to answer this. Did Rinus VeeKay make a mistake in leaving Dale Coyne Racing?
A mistake?
Because
I
the
want to
thought
say
was he's go to AJ Foyt, and it doesn't look like, according to Marcia Pruitt, that's going to happen now.
that my thought was always he was going to go there, but like, what's left at this point for him, right? Like,
So is it a mistake?
I think at the time with the market that was open, and the season he put down, getting a podium, I don't think it was a mistake at the time. I'm growing more and more worried that VeeKay is about to box himself out of a ride, because I thought people mentioning that he was going to go Penske was just pie in the sky. It was always going to be David Malukas, who himself confirmed. It's now confirmed he is going there after last week. Where AJ Foyt's the only seat that I can think of.
Juncos is still open.
Yeah, that's Juncos as well. It's either Juncos, who haven't. I think Connor Daly's the guy that's leading that candidacy for that. Or, well, really, Connor Daly looks like he might go to Foyt himself as well, leaving the 76, 77, however they want to number that car next year, open for VeeKay. But I think when you had a year like you did with Honda, or with Dale Coyne Racing rather, and if you stayed around in the 18 car and had Hauger as a teammate rather than a Jacob Abel, who's also connected with a potential seat at AJ Foyt, I think you would have benefited from that Andretti relationship with your speed on street and road courses throughout last season, both at Barber, at Canada, or Toronto rather, even though they're moving to Markham next year. It's starting to look more and more like a mistake, because now you're left with Juncos Hollinger. There's not a lot of fire with that team. They had okay oval strength, and VK has looked well and has great qualifying performances at the Indianapolis 500, with barring this year with Dale Coyne Racing. I just don't think this is going to be a net positive of a move now. And if it was AJ Foyt, I think it would have been lateral enough. And I actually, if you look at it from winning the Indy 500, that's a great move because those cars, you're going into the runner-up of the Indianapolis 500. Now, I don't think this is going to benefit him as much as he thought it was going into the offseason. But to close the point on Meyer Shank, they were allied with Andretti from 2019 until the end of that 2024 season. They just moved to Chip Ganassi. So Andretti getting another part, that was kind of a gap year now, because now they have that partnership with Dale Coyne Racing.
Yeah.
And they have, I look at it from who's gonna, because Hauger absolutely is the future. Once Will Power is done and out of there, that's Hauger's seat for the future for sure. I look at it now as, I don't think if Roman Grosjean truly is going to come back to one of those seats at a DCR, I don't think unless he wins one, even two, or shows out to win almost one or two races there, I don't see Roman making a charge back into the Andretti ranks. So now you're left with who from the Andretti pipeline is going to fill that gap. Is it going to be a Salvador D'Alba who's shown great pace on ovals, and can he make that next step on the street courses? Is it going to be Lockie Hughes, who I think he's on Andretti's roster, who's shown really good pace on street and oval or street and road courses. Those two are going to be that's the battle to look at in Indy next year, to see who's going to be that next predecessor to take that seat, or is it going to be, or even a Miles Rowe, whose breakout year this season? I'm interested in seeing who from those guys can make the next jump to potentially compete for that Dale Coyne Racing seat. So I'm excited for that. David Malukas making it to Penske was big. That was last week. I thought the interactions on social media, I think Scott McLaughlin's going to get in the know of us millennial Gen Z speech stuff there. Blackburn's doing it too with his kids, man.
I've recognized some of those words. Riz and Rip. I've been using them incorrectly nonstop just to piss off my son, so it's been fun.
Oh yeah, no, I'm thrilled to see how that happened. I think David Malukas, to just have a quick point on him, I think the goal for him is, obviously an Indy 500 win would be just over the top for sure for that team, and for him, rather him himself, and getting Penske back on the board. But now that you're in that 12 car, nailing that win down would be huge for him in his career, and finding victory lane and hopefully competing for a title probably in the next 2 or 3 years for David would be a huge opportunity for him in this 12 team, a championship winning drive for David. How do you feel about his future real quickly, Tom?
I want to say that, excuse me, is that 12 car going to be able to maintain that competitiveness still? Is it still going to be competing for those poles, those wins, like it did with Will Power? Is David that guy? I'm not doubting David at all. I think he has talent. He has proven it. He has run fast at times, but like I said, at the end of the Nashville races, sometimes he's impatient, so he hasn't been able to get those results. Can he get that results consistently? And it's possible it happens. Alex Palou, Dale Coyne one year, Chip Ganassi in the next, championship. So I'm not saying that David's going to do that, but being competitive in this ride, it's very possible. We'll see what happens.
I will say and endorse right now, he is a early favorite for Indy 500 for me. I think that should be that. Watch out, because this kid is coming in that 12 car, and it's going to be fun to watch that team for 2026 and beyond for them. So that'll do it for this episode. Thanks for joining in live on YouTube. Thanks for listening on our podcast platforms. And be sure to subscribe to Frontstretch Open Wheel. You can click down below and check out all of the content. Even through the off season, we will be busy with what's going on with IndyCar. Excited to see what happens for the rest of this and going into the 2026 season. Follow us on our respective platforms. Wyatt W Racing for me. Tom Blackburn 42 on Twitter or X, if you like to call it that. And check out all the rest of our content, including Happy Hour with Michael Massey, Brian Nolan, and Dalton Hopkins. Don't know who they have coming on today, but excited to see what they have coming on the platform. And check out Through the Gears with myself for the best bets on the NASCAR side going into the next race at Kansas. Excited to see the action there. Caleb Barnes on Stock Car Scoop will have reactions after the race. And then also check out tomorrow Bringing the Heat with Trey Lyle as well. From Tom Blackburn, from myself, Wyatt Watson, thanks for joining. We'll see you next time after the Singapore Grand Prix. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.